All right, check it out. All right, today's art for inspiration is can't call it a bucket list book. It's more like a rite of passage, right? For American comics, Frank Miller's Ronin. You're all probably familiar with it. I just need to get this one out because I keep looking at it on my shelf. So let's flip this around. Show you a couple editions I got here. This is a new-ish DC release. I don't know when this was printed. Let me look here for you. We're going to be looking at the soft cover, though. It's a little easier for me to navigate that book. Of course, it's not there. I think this was 2019. I think it might have been 2019. If I cannot locate this quickly, which I can't. Okay, so anyways, I think it was like 2019, 2018. I think it's still available most places. Nice glossy paper, the colors hold up, and all that. Comparable to this. This one here, I'll talk about it in a minute. This is my original copy here. It's a second printing. I do not own a first printing. I got the floppy for issue 1 and 2 only, I think. So that's my trade. Let's take a peek here real quick. You know, we'll start backwards. We're going to look at the bonus material in this deluxe. My one grievance with this deluxe version here, my video is already tweaking on me. This piece right here is not included. I don't know why. It should have been, because it's a crazy good piece of art. All right. So, let's see. We've got a Ronin gallery here. Advertising, some other ad stuff from books. Let's see here. We get I think this was I don't know. I think this was a pinup or a cover at some point, repurposed for like Comics Journal or something like that. Got a couple sketches here by Frank. Pretty cool poster. I think this was a poster up in the old shop I used to go to, but it was faded yellow because they had it in the front window. Just sun bleached all to hell. Here's some original pages here. I think these are the same scans that you'll find. There is an artist edition or artifact edition or whatever you call it of Ronin and oversized. I recommend it. If you're a big fan of Frank's earlier work, for sure. So you get to see some of that. Yeah, you get the line art here. I get it. But yeah, the colors are pretty cool. So yeah, you get the line art there. And then the most recent soft cover in Frank's new-ish style there. So yeah, this is a deluxe, obviously larger than the other one. I think it's like 9 by 12. This one is like smaller. I don't know. This one might actually be like 8.5 by 12. I'm not sure. Because this one here is like 10.25 by 6.5 or something like that. All right, this one's going bye-bye. Let's take a peek at this. I got this during the summer before my freshman year of high school, so it was like 1989, I think. And I think this was actually printed in 87, so my copy was sitting on the shelf for a couple of years, I think. So anyways, yeah, let's go and take a peek at this. And I'm going to stay out of the weeds on what Frank was looking at. I know a lot of people got really strong opinions, like, oh, he was looking at Bilal, Mobius, you know, Kojima, whatever. I don't really care, to be quite honest. I think the outcome of everything he was influenced by is dope AF, and I like that this book was produced from those influences, all right? So, yeah, usually, you know, I do go a little bit into, oh, they were looking at this or that, but it's like, on this one, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that, because there's a lot of stuff going on in this book. As far as influence, what he was looking at, obviously this is very different from other books he was working on, like the Daredevil monthlies, and obviously my favorite graphic novel of all time, Dark Knight Returns. And yeah, just very different, very much experimental for him, and in a weird way too, because he has so much American style in his underdrawing and his approach with his tools, with the brush and the quill, and that it actually has a very Barry Windsor Smith kind of look to it. Um, who also might have been an influence. I don't know, but yeah, my artistic eye is telling me he's got that Barry Windsor Smith stroke where it's like a lot of thick to thins. You can feel the stroke. You can feel the light stroke to the heavy stroke into the darkness, and he does that quite a bit all over the place. So, yeah, let's go and take a peek through here. Um, I will say though, personally, like later on when I started discovering other artists, like France and Japan, I think it's more. What was his name? Inky Bilal. He's got a few really cool collected books from the 70s. I got a couple of them too. I'll have to do an art for inspiration on those and just focus on some of that art. But definitely, with the futuristic stuff at least, Frank was definitely pulling from that stuff. Absolutely. I really like these outlines here. And of course, the image founders, Totes and McGoats, were fans of this, pulling for so much from here. These wispy, crosshatchy lines for these backgrounds. A lot of in lieu of speed lines in American comics, a curved speed line, just repetitive speed lines with a little bit of a taper and a break, maybe some whiteout, right? Um, just more of like a loosey goosey approach. This feels more like the what's his name, Kojima. The my brain is stopped. Lone Wolf and Cub. Yeah, those early books. So he definitely had books out on his desk open when he was working on this stuff. But yeah, just really, really cool use of light and shadow, cool use of lines to indicate gray areas. And this kind of an approach too, like you could technically kind of take, you could almost take all of this work he did here where he was using lines. And if you just did a spot black and eliminate these outlines, it would literally be Sin City. Like this right here could be a Marv face. If you created this area here and blocked it out black and remove outlines, that's a Sin City panel, right? So the Book of Grays, that's what this is. Yeah. And this one did take a bit to grow on me. I had a friend who was really, really big into a lot of the, I don't want to call them anti-hero, just outlier books. He was huge into like, oh, speaking of, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is literally derivative from this. Like, I'm not going to go into it. They got a series called The Last Ronin, even. I mean, come on. And that thing was developed way back. Stylistically and everything else, they were completely looking at this run of books here for that. Which is fine. You know, we're all influenced by the best stuff that we're finding on the shelf, right? Um, some more than others. But yeah, so yeah, this is a beautiful face right here. Um, yeah, Varley colored this, so that's why I like it. Yeah, Lynn Varley's colors. I mean, just great coloring too. My book is a little yellowed, by the way. This isn't the color. This used to be white. This book, you know, I've had it, like I said, since 1989. I believe it was printed in '87. It's had its day of oxidation. Yeah, there was a point where I had moved. Yeah, yeah, a lot of background element, a lot of Mobius here, a lot of Mobius type work. Very, very Mobius right here. Get rid of the cross hatching a bit, clean it up totally. But yeah, this is, you know, forward thinking by Frank, thinking outside the box, making some changes, doing whatever it took to not be looked at like another Neil Adams clone. for too long. Bill Sienkiewicz also was receiving the same the same flack from fandom at the time, I believe. You draw just like Neil Adams, and then like no artist wants to hear they draw just like so and so. That's when they're like, I'm gonna shift gears. I'm gonna find some other stuff to look at. Some of these designs of these pages too. And by the way, a lot of this stuff is kind of groundbreaking at the time. You got to think 1989, people were still super married to their four ups and their three across, two down panel, panel work. Uh, he is kind of breaking the mold. Not a lot of panel breaks, but as far as um, the delivery of the story like this was not very common in that day. But he was also probably looking at a lot of the other competition around him. You had Walt Simonson killing it. You had Barry Windsor Smith coming up. Um, Arthur Adams, fan favorite. So it's like you got to do something to make your mark around this time too. It's very sumptuous of me, but that's what I'm going to gather is part of his process was probably having to do with that as well. It's a really cool face. I like this shot right here with the drop black back here and a lot of different grade of black line thickness to differentiate it from the gray on the cheek and the hat versus the got that handle sticking out there. Yeah, this is cool. All right, keep trucking along on this. 12 minutes. Holy cow. Yeah, and then obviously also, he's got the Ronin 2 series. I do have an art for inspiration for it. I do actually like a lot of things about it, a lot of aspects of that book. Um, it's more like a fun to look at book. I don't personally look at it like a sequel to this. Oh yeah, this one right here. I actually did an homage to this. Uh, yeah, Rob Liefeld completely swiped this too. He had a shatter star with the villain like this, and even swiped the panel like this right here. I think Cable was in the last one. I don't remember what issue that was. Might have been like New Mutants 100, or it was one of the latter issues, or like X Force 1 maybe. So yeah, a lot of American artists completely pulling from this for years after the fact. Yeah, that's so nice right there. This feels almost like a Silvestri panel here. If you remove the flat coloring and gave it fashion forward computer coloring, this is a Silvestri panel right here. Yeah, you're not going to find a whole lot of that sort of Sin City esque type use of black in this book at all. More so, you're going to get stuff like this. A lot of the banding, a lot of parallel and perpendicular lines, but used in repetitive motion to create shadows and stuff. This is kind of where, and that's going to sound funny, uh, Liefeld and oh god, what's it? Jim Valentino. What was that other guy? Jarvinen? They all used to shade the bellies of characters like the Blob using this exact fade with that curvature that resembles the outside as well. It's kind of funny to see that. And then us later, we're like, oh, I'm do this because so and so does it, right? Like we have our own hierarchy of like the artists that we looked at. And without the full knowledge, if you had never picked this up, you would never know this is more than likely where that came from. A lot of stuff like this right here too. Yes, very Mobius-esque, but artists like Jim Lee or young Jim, when he would throw in panels like this into Punisher or whatever with these outlines with a color fill instead of a black drop shadow. Um, More than likely, it was from this run of books here. A lot of new stuff introduced from this book. A lot of carefree uh, use of black. Not a lot of tapering here, right? Very kind of almost like an indie approach. Yeah, carefree. That's the best word to come up with. You got some Jay Lee splatter in here when Jay Lee was 12 years old, right? Before Jay Lee. Yeah. And if you're looking for like a really good story, I wouldn't say this is it, to be honest, too. That's another thing, too. That's why I'm doing art for inspiration of this. I was never super impressed with the story of this, but uh, I do love his approach in these books, and it's just really fun to look at. And if you got a little bit of a dry spell, um, sometimes just thumbing through these older books, you're going to find something that sparks, it sparks the flame. You're like, oh man, yeah, you know what? I should probably do something like that, or I want to do a panel that utilizes that shading technique, or things like this, right? But oh, back to my story. My buddy that was I completely abandoned that story about my friend. He really really big into uh, Mike Baron's Punisher, anything Mike Zechter. He was a huge fan. He was a huge fan of this series in particular. What's funny is he wasn't into the Batman stuff. I think it was just a little too mainstreamy for him. He liked the stuff that wasn't talked about a lot, around the watering holes, I guess. So he just sort of he's a punk rocker dude too. So I mean, it's kind of on par. It's on brand for him. Yeah. Anyways, he was my first exposure to this run of books, and I think actually I think my one and two floppies were actually from him. I think he had extras of them. So he also hooked me up with those old school Akira comics that were colored by Steve Oliff. Um, he hooked me up with a bunch of those. I think I got the first 12 or 13 from him on that. I don't remember if we traded or if he was just like, just give me some money for these, and he just was kind of done with them. Don't recall. So that would have been around 1991 ish. And then 3 years later, I'd be pro. Who'd have thunk, right? Be professional comic book artist at 16 years old, barely able to drive. These are fun. I remember trying to dissect and figure out what he was using for these inks too back in the day. I think coming up here, there's a some of these like samurai fight pages. I don't think I passed them yet, but yeah, maybe stuff like this too. I would see these kinds of lines and think like, man, I bet he's using like paintbrushes, like because I had no clue about like ink supplies. Um, I used to get these pens from the drugstore. Basically, I was using like Sharpies, and I don't remember the name of them. I think they were called Precision or Precise, and you could see the ink like inside the pen. You could see the ink in it. And a lot of my early work was actually inked in blue because they were always out of the black one, but I didn't want to like let stuff sit. So I would ink stuff in blue. It's really kind of stupid, but we didn't have a whole lot of art stores around where I grew up too. So it was sort of like if grocery stores had it, it was an art supply. It was like the stuff you use. So yeah, it was very cool too. Right here, look at this. Nobody does this stuff. Like, guys, come on. If you're a comic creator, start doing this kind of thing again. Look, incorporate the sound effects into your panels, into your borders. Make use of panel breaks. This isn't just a jumping at you. Oh, he's coming at you. So he's, it's there's other reasons to produce those panel breaks. It actually also helps the flow of the page at times. Left to right, left to right. I guess this is a little Sin City-esque right there. I guess this is too. I lied. I said there was no Sin City in here. There's a little bit of that heavy black silhouette shaded work, just a tad. I think he was doing this for design though. That wasn't his intent. He wasn't even playing with the Sin City stuff at this time. Not that I recall. This feels very like Sharpie marker deadline-esque to me. This feels like a marker, like a pen. It doesn't feel like a nib. None of this. It's got some zipatone going on in here. All this shading in here is not Lynn Varley. That's like zip. Old school zip. These pages scream Bilal. And I don't know if I'm saying his name correctly. It's the way I've always said it. Bilal Inki. I think I call him Enkil. I don't think that's his real name. I think it's Inki. I think because the last name ends with an L, my brain forms another L that's not there. This is a really cool double pager here. But yeah, like seeing these really thick lines like this, it feels controlled brush to me. It feels very controlled brush. This isn't a natural single stroke line you can get out of the nib. So yeah. Yeah, it's when I started kind of messing with some brush inks and I don't remember the ink that we used to use back in the day, but it was terrible. You'd have to let it dry and then go through and like hit it again. Watered down crap. All right, let's keep going. I'm about halfway, or I'm gonna keep zipping through this for anyone that has stuck around for 20 minutes. This nonsense. Really cool design through these pages. Yeah, this look, no more Frank Miller, or no more Sin City. No more Sin City. It is a little bit more of a chore than I expected. I was like, oh, I'll just do Ronin. Like in my brain, this book is not this many pages for some reason. It's a really cool piece right here. This is neat too. I do appreciate unnecessary placement of gutters, but I kind of like it. Oh look, Casey, like Casey Jones. All right. Got a little bit of some Dune going on in there. Some David Lynch. Kind of switches gears here. A little more of some contouring and then just heavy black rendering via paintbrush through here. Very stark. You get this fire scenario next to the characters though, so it makes sense. Miller really likes stories that have like mutants. What would it be? Mutants, machines, magistrates. That's pretty cool. I like that. This big bad right here, some pretty cool close-ups of him, this character in the Ronin 2, the most recent series of books. I think majority of that work was finished. Frank did layouts. The finishes were very, very Image Comics esque to me, in my opinion. They were Philip Tan, I guess, Philip Tan, and then he had there's another guy that came in. Yeah, go watch the video. I talk about it in the video. But who also has a very linear approach to those finishes. This is a really cool transition of a jump right here. I really like this a lot. A lot of story being told right here with no words. And then all of the words. Huh. Visually, this reminds me of the Christopher Nolan poster with the bat. Yeah, it's pretty interesting, though. I've seen him kind of flip-flop a little bit here towards the end of that book, but seeing all the influences he kind of brought in to his work and how much it does actually resemble a lot of like a Barry Windsor Smith type style. It's interesting. It's a wild double pager. I've always wondered if this was a true DPS. It's an interesting page. This one was in the back of the deluxe. You saw that? This book can be a bad influence. Sometimes looking at it, it makes you kind of want to move over to a simpler style where you don't have to rely so much on clean finished work. I think that can be dangerous. So maybe I might try it for a one shot. I might try it for a one off. Pretty sure Silvestri took this or something very similar. I'm thinking like Ninjas versus Ripclaw, Cyblade, whatever. One of those early Volume 2 Cyberforce books. Pretty sure this was used by Mark. I don't think it was Finch because I wasn't really feeling Dave Finch's early Cyberforce stuff. Not until that Ash, when the Ash crossover books, I feel like he leveled up. Like he by leaps and bounds, he just completely surpassed his old quality of work. Like, might have just been a mental thing, you know. Sometimes when you're given the right opportunity, you can trick your brain into like the appropriate measure of like that level up that you need, you know, to get to the next thing. You need to prove a point. It's a really cool panel right here. I like that a lot. Let's keep going. It's a crazy DPS there. Let's see, we got some more panels here. It's an artist. This feels very Kent Williams to me. If you know, you know. Kent Williams did some pretty cool Vertigo stuff back in the day. I didn't keep up with Kent Williams though. Inkwork at least. I got some of the painted stuff. I think he did the was it Havoc Wolverine? It's a pretty fun miniseries. Fully painted though, no, not a line art book. It was really cool too. Get to see the tech version of these like creatures here on that side. All right, guys. Promise you, we're almost done. 30 minutes. Yeah, I'm gonna skip through this cape. Final chapter here. Page turns. Less talk. Less talk, more walk. All right, here we go. I actually didn't skip too many pages here. What a cop out! What a cop out! I bet he got full page rate for that too. Necessary story device. Sure it is. Sure, I believe you. All right. Coming up here too. Got all my art supplies like rolling at me for some reason. I swear I don't live at the edge of a hill. There are these fold-out pages, which that's a really cool panel. I like this layout. Yeah, there's some pages here that, in my opinion, I think is where Jim Lee got his idea for, was it Wildcats 5, right? Remember those triple page spreads where you turned it? So look, so you open it, you get this giant quad spread, right? You leave it open and open it this way, and it's another quad spread. Well, it's a double spread with a splash. There you go. So you got that one too. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Like, this was super innovative for an 80s printed book to have this like insert newsprint paper spread. So yeah, and of course this is a very iconic image here, used a lot for this book. But anyways, yeah, that's my art for inspiration. If you're not familiar with this book, familiarize yourself with it. Just so you know. Just so you know about it. Frank Miller's Ronin. Not my favorite of Frank's, but definitely like a must-own for me. I'd feel weird if I didn't own this book. So anyways, all right, have a great day. Don't forget to subscribe, ring the dings, bing the bells, and all that stuff. All right, peace out.